Hey everyone, and welcome. Sometimes the most amazing lessons don't come from a textbook at all. They come from the world that's happening right outside our window. Today we're going to break down how a simple everyday event can become a truly extraordinary learning experience.
So let's just jump right in with this question. What if something totally normal, something as simple as a rainy day, could actually unlock a whole new way of teaching and learning? That's exactly what we're going to dig into today.
So here's what we've got on tap. We're going to start with a fantastic real-world example from a school in Chiang Mai. Then we'll break down the theory behind it, see exactly how they put it all into practice hour by hour, and finally, we'll unpack why this whole method is just so incredibly powerful.
Okay, so our case study is this brilliant 6-hour lesson plan made for middle schoolers. And the title is so simple, but it's really profound. It's raining. So what? Right away, that question pushes students to look past the obvious and really engage with their own environment in a brand new way. But before we get to the lesson itself, let's make sure we're on the same page. What even is active learning? Well, think of it as a total flip of the script. Instead of students just sitting there passively listening, the teacher designs activities that make them active participants. Learning by doing, working together, and thinking really deeply about actual real-world problems.
So, how does this all work? Well, according to the framework they used, active learning is basically an engine with 3 core components. These are the principles that turn a simple topic, like rain, into a super dynamic lesson.
First up, you've got learning through action and working together. The second part is all about empowering students to build their own understanding. And the third piece, that's about developing those next-level thinking and communication skills. Okay, try to keep these 3 in mind because we're about to see them in action.
All right, enough theory, right? Let's see how this stuff actually plays out in a classroom. We're jumping into the first 2 hours of the "It's raining, so what" lesson. This is where the students really start to get their hands dirty, intellectually speaking.
So the lesson doesn't start with a boring lecture. Nope, it kicks off with a real, local problem. The teacher shows video clips of flooding that's happening right there in their own community. The problem isn't some abstract idea. It's immediate, it's relevant, it's happening in their backyard.
And right away, the students are asked to structure their thinking. They don't just randomly talk about the problem. They use a worksheet like this one to actually break it down, to analyze what's causing it, what the impact is, and even start brainstorming some first-pass solutions. And then the teacher hits them with this really powerful question. This isn't just about finding an answer. It's about understanding the consequences if they do nothing. It pushes students from just simple problem solving into the world of real critical thinking.
And right there, you see the theory come to life. By taking on a challenging, real-world problem, the students are actually empowered to analyze their own environment. It's a perfect example of active learning.
In the second hour, things get even more personal. The teacher sets up a simulation. Okay, it's pouring rain, it's stormy out there. Do you go to school? The students are suddenly in the driver's seat, having to make a tough, real-life decision.
But here's the thing, they're not just guessing. They're given real data to work with. Weather reports, safety information, bus routes, you name it. They have to weigh all these different variables and then write out a justification for their choice. This is all about learning how to make and defend decisions based on data, a huge life skill that really promotes student independence.
Okay, so after 2 hours of analyzing and making decisions, the lesson totally shifts gears. The second half is all about taking what they've learned and turning it into real action and communication.
Just look at this progression. The students go from creating educational stuff to then reflecting on their own work and giving feedback to their friends. After that, they dig deeper with more research, before it all culminates in hour 6, where they actually have to communicate their findings to everyone else. It's a whole journey, from personal creation to public sharing.
Let's zero in on that poster design activity for a second. This is such a great example of combining that hands-on practice with integrated communication. The students are literally turning their research into a creative, visual tool that teaches others.
And that peer evaluation part? Oh, that is just as important. Through self-reflection and getting feedback from their peers, students aren't just learning the material, they're learning how to learn. It's an incredibly powerful way to deepen their understanding by looking critically at their own work and the work of others.
So, after a full 6 hours focused on a simple rainy day, what's the big deal? Why does this approach matter so much? Let's kind of zoom out and look at the incredible impact of this kind of learning.
I mean, think about what the students actually developed here.
It wasn't just some facts about the weather. They practiced critical thinking, making decisions based on data, and working together. They learned how to do their own research and communicate what they found effectively. These aren't just school skills, these are essential life skills. And that brings us to the most crucial point of all. This entire process completely changes the student's role in the classroom. They aren't empty buckets waiting to be filled with facts anymore. They become active architects of their own understanding, building knowledge through experience, analysis, and creation.
And that brings us to our final question. A question for you. This whole lesson started with a rainy day in Chiang Mai. So what about in your world? At your job, in your community, maybe even in your family? What everyday situations are just waiting to be turned into a powerful lesson? The potential for real learning is literally all around us.